Welcome to another Red Dice Diaries video. Now, I recently enjoyed playing in a Star Trek based role-playing game run by one of my friends, Simon, at our local game store, Spirit Games. Now, this was run using the basic role-playing system from Chaosium, which is a system I've not really used too much before, although I have encountered it a little when I've played Call of Cthulhu by the same publisher. The game was an excellent game, thoroughly enjoyable. It featured myself, my wife Hannah, and two other people, in addition to the games master, whom I'd not met before, and the names temporarily escaped me. Apologies, I'm absolutely terrible with names. And the game featured all of us as a science officer, in my case, the other two players playing an engineer and a pilot, and my wife playing a communications officer. Now, we were playing the part of a small crew aboard an Earth test vessel, and this is in the period prior to the Enterprise series, so long before Captain Kirk, etc. And we were part of a testbed ship for Earth, testing a possible alternative to the standard warp drives that were used on ships, which in this time period were not half as efficient as they would later become in the franchise and the rebooted films, etc., etc. And the alternative that we were testing posited creating a wormhole, a stable wormhole, in front of the ship, which it could then pass through, moving in effect almost instantaneously between large distances and covering vast distances of space. Of course, as is the way of these things, when the initial test run was made, something went wrong shortly after the engine was activated, and we found ourselves in the situation where we were moving rapidly through the quadrant, unable to turn off the drive due to a flickering energy field that had appeared around it and that seemed impervious to all our attempts to disable it. And we were faced with the possibility that we would either continue onwards until we simply ran out of food and rations and died of malnutrition, or we would have to perform some sort of risky maneuver in order to stop ourselves and thus potentially risk destroying the ship. Eventually we solved the dilemma by bombarding the field with enough energy that it caused it to momentarily flicker and overload, at which point we were able to use the point defense lasers, normally used for micrometeorites, etc., but in this case reconfigured to work with the ship's internal targeting systems, to shear off the nacelle that contained the new drive, which then severed from the powers of the rest of the ship. We slowed down and we were eventually able to go back and pick it up. However, we are miles and miles away from home, and we need to find our way back without any knowledge of where we are, really, since mankind's not made it terribly far out into the stars in this time period. But we do have some experimental technologies on board that we could potentially trade for more supplies, etc. And you may recognise this as sounding quite similar to a sort of Voyager-esque concept, which it is. However, the almost laughably handled notion of the strange god alien that pulled the ship across into a different part of the galaxy has been completely omitted, and a more typically Star Trek technological reason has been supplied. And I'm really looking forward to this game. Simon ran it extremely well. It was nice to roleplay with some new people. Nice to not have to worry overly much about the rule system. The GM handled most of that. We simply rolled our stats and jumped straight into the prelude session. And this got me thinking, how much is it necessary for players to worry or to know about the rules? To be perfectly honest, I couldn't tell you a great deal about the basic role-playing game. Despite having played this session of it, I couldn't tell you any more now than when I went in. However, what I can tell you is that I enjoyed the session extremely and found it a great night's entertainment. And we may, of course, get further into the rules as the sessions go on, but as long as the players and the GM are all enjoying themselves, and the GM is more comfortable potentially handling more of the rules aspect, is it really necessary for the players to know a great deal more about it, as long as they trust the GM to have the best interests of the game at heart? Let me know what you think. Please feel free to post what you think in the space below. I hope that if you're enjoying these videos, you'll consider clicking on the subscribe link to this channel, and I look forward to reading what you write, and will keep you up to date with any happenings in this game and others that I'm playing on the channel. Thank you very much for watching.